moved into the house, we kind of thought this is kind of a no-brainer to get some solar on the house to save some money in the long run. That and just the thought of not paying PG&E and doing something that's good for the environment. The process was super easy. It was a person I know at Golden Bear named Mike, and he asked some questions about the size of the house and the face of the roof, and basically said things at your house will be very good for this. And so from there, he sent, I think I sent him a list of our bills from previous years, and from there they set up some meetings with Rob, who came out and basically told me how long it would take to put it on, and it went from there. Those people, I think maybe some of them have gotten scammed, because sometimes I talk to people and they've done either like a lease agreement or something that is never as good as the system I've got through Golden Bear. So sometimes I actually like to probe and find out what they're paying and who's involved in the deal, because I have heard of other situations that are nowhere as good as what I've got. Yeah, a lot of people say that, and I think they all worry about, are you going to get your return, and is it going to pay for itself? And I usually tell those people, think about how much PG&E raises their rates and how much they're really paying month to month, because over the long haul, if you're going to be in your house, it's the finances typically work. And I tell them, if they think they can't do it, talk to Mike, because there's loans and there's products out there that can make this affordable to everyone. Yeah, so my financials, I was lucky enough that I had some money and it was sitting in some equity, and I had just invested it. And after I talked to Mike about what you get in terms of paying up front versus the monthly savings, I realized it was like an annuity. If I took 20,000 out of the market and stuck it into solar, I'm getting about a 15 to 20% return on investment every year. And so it was a no-brainer. And I needed to see the numbers and understand that there's some serious financial advantages. Yeah, that's another one. People, they always worry that they're not going to get their return on the investment. And like I said before, if you talk to Mike, he can either explain the leasing options or a loan option. And I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to go that route. But if you don't have the money, it's still worth having that conversation, because the offset. I mean, I've paid nothing for the last 3 years, and so for me it worked out beautifully. It took me. It didn't take long. I think I was really interested in it. So while Rob was putting it on, I was kind of asking questions and snooping around. I mean, it took me maybe an hour to pull together the initial information. And then I snooped around. I looked online. What if I bought panels myself and hired an electrician? So I was kind of thinking about different ways to do this. But after talking to Mike, I just had complete trust that this is the best deal I'm going to get. And yeah, it wasn't a big time sink. In many ways, it was kind of a fun investment in learning about the system. The transparency. So when you're walking through Home Depot and like Solar City taps you on the shoulder and they start throwing big numbers out, it kind of makes no sense and it feels like a sales pitch. But Mike was explaining the cost per kilowatt hour, and not really trying to sell me on Golden Bear, but saying, here's how you price a system, and this is what you want to compare between Solar City, Golden Bear, or whatever companies approaching you. Golden Bear, one thing I know that they did for me was they didn't jack up the price, so there were no extra fees. When the installer came out, he looked at the fuse box. He actually looked at our gas line too, and he up front said, I'm going to have to replace some fuses. We're going to potentially have to have that gas line fixed because it's out of code. And he knew when PG&E came out, they were going to ding me for an out of code gas line. So he was very upfront about all this stuff. And even the roof had a leak, which they fixed for free and just threw that in as part of the deal. So I would expect other companies to do that, but some of my friends have said, yeah, we get a quote and then there's added fees for the electrical and little tweaks here and there, and none of that happened with Golden Bear. It was all up front and they stuck to the original quote. I tell them all, at least talk to someone and understand the pros and cons of it. Um, I'm a huge advocate of it, and I don't want to oversell people, but I usually say talk to Mike and see what your options are. If you don't think you can afford it, they probably come up with a product that'll make it affordable. And if people are worried about selling their house and not getting the full return, I usually tell them to at least look at prices when you sell your house and what kind of mortgage people can afford. And when you show that your house has zero electric bill, that's an added benefit.